a very clumsy burglar.
Or it's a burglar that can't believe the stuff he's getting his hands on. Look at this DVD player.
Well, he used it to mean a hesitator, one who boggles. I don't know if that was what in boggling the mind.
What is a kicky-wicky? Is that like a Russell Brand's version of a football or something?
It's an affectionate term for a wife. Oh, my dear Kicky-Wicky.
A kicky-wicky is not an affectionate term.
Domestic violence is a lot more acceptable.
Oh, the old smashy-washy. The old battery-wattery. Punchy-wunchy.
And a quatch. Or is it a quatch? It's actually an adjective.
A fetch.
Quatch. Quatch means a bit podgy, a bit quatch.
Oh, you're a bit quatchy.
Yeah. Sort of, yeah.
Luckily, I'm wearing a surgical truss.
Plump, shall we say. Whoppend, or wappened, is corrupt. That's never really caught on, has it? But look at the ones that did catch on. Here's just a small example of words that are first used in Shakespeare. Accessible, acutely assembled, barefaced, beguiling, critic, even-handed, eyeball, Frenchwoman, hunchbacked, neglected, overpower, promising, radiance, revealing, rose-cheeked, schoolday synonymous, three-legged.
French woman is a bit of a stretch. French woman. He invented it.
He invented taking the space out.
Yes, he may have done. Even-handed, bewitchment.
This is my wife. She is a thingamajig. I don't know. What can I call her? Oh, French woman. I think you'll call her. She's French woman. French woman.
Of course, you can't be absolutely certain he invented all these because there may have been in use before, but he is often the first printed source we have for them.
He presumably had to have a pretty good idea that people would understand what he was going on about.
Yes, exactly. Oh, I've done it again.
Oh, no.
You know, this bit of rough is not behaving. I've said that before. Oh, dear, oh, dear. So, there we are. Call me a sweltery boggler if you like, but answer me this. How did Shakespeare's bottom get to Norwich?
Are there relics, bits of him?
Well, he had a famous comedian who played Bottom and Falstaff.
Who did?
Shakespeare.
Oh.
And he created them for him. He was well known. He was considered the funniest man in England. And his name is sometimes put, it says Kemp instead of Bottom on the original play script, because it was so obviously Kemp who was going to play him. Will Kemp, his name was. But he had a dreadful falling out with Shakespeare or with whoever was running the company, well, with Burbage or somebody, and he went off in a right huff. But he decided, as a publicity stunt, he would Morris dance all the way to Norwich from London.
Oh. That's unnecessary.
He did it, it took him about 3 weeks, but he did it over the course of 9 days. And there's a famous phrase that comes from this thing that he did. And
Cocking about?
No.
Making
he wrote a
right
book,
tit of yourself?
Kemp's 9 Days Wonder. It was a 9 days wonder. That's where the phrase a 9 days wonder comes from. And he just did it to draw up publicity to himself and say, I may have left Shakespeare Company, but I'm the man, and they're going to go down now. And unfortunately, quite the reverse happened. He went off to Italy and died in penury. His gravestone just says, Kemp, a man. And after he left, the first play Shakespeare wrote was Henry V, in which Falstaff dies off stage, so Kemp was kind of got rid of that way. And a new man called Armin came in and played the comedians. But while we're on the subject of Will Kemp there and his Morris dancing, let me ask this. What do you call a group of Morris dancers?
An arse.
Swarm.
Swarm?
An embarrassment.
Oh!
Plague.
A bell end. A bell end. Honestly, poor old Britain. We've got one folk tradition in England, and all we do is laugh at it.
But it's absolutely true. People, it really generates hostility.
People get
dancing, and
people get so mean about it.
I think we think they're up to something.
It's charming.
A perv of Morris dancing.
I think it's very valuable that we can point to that and say, see, it's a free country.
We're not doing that in Afghanistan.
Yeah, really. If we were going to ban anything,
it would
we'd
be
ban that.
You know what's going to happen? You see, if this scene now of all us dressed like this and this photograph here behind us like that is we're going to end up as like an "and finally" section on foreign news programmes. If you know more, les Anglais.
It's known as a side, anyway.
A
side group of Morris men. No one quite knows where Morris dancing comes from. We think it's from Morisco, as in Moorish, maybe a way to celebrate the expulsion of the Moors from Spain, various dances, and it's spread into England that way, but certainly not pagan and mystical and anything like that. It's pretty recent, 14th century is the earliest you can go back to it. There are 150 sides now registered in the USA. So American Morris dancing is taking off in a big way.
They'll be
That's
on
3
there,
per
won't they?
state on average.
I've joined a bell end.
This is what they do in old England. Merry England.
There's an Arctic Morris group based in Helsinki. But now, time to visit that undiscovered country from whose bourne no idiot returns as we ring down the curtain on general ignorance. Sound drums and trumpets, farewell, sour annoy, for here I hope begins our lasting joy. Fingers on buzzers, in other words. What best describes, in one word, Richard III's appearance?
Hunchback!
There's no evidence at all that Richard III had a hunched back. Just the black propaganda of the Tudors who succeeded him.
But the character in the play does.
The character in the play does, certainly.
And a limp, a sort of arm, twisted arm, isn't he?
A bottled spider, one of the things he's called. A hideous name, isn't it? But no, it seems he was a rather decent fellow in many respects. Intelligent, kind. There was a man called Polydore Virgil, who was a historian who was determined to paint Richard III as black as possible, and so described him as ugly, because in those days they associated ugliness and so on with much as we do today, with wickedness. So, while on that sort of thing, how beautiful was Cleopatra?
She was minging.
Well, I think it's sort of a bit weird looking, but sort of striking.
Yes,
she had a sort of
probably
bit of a
fair.
weird nose.
Long nose, a long pointy nose. It seems possibly she had a long pointy nose. There's certainly no contemporary suggestion that she was particularly beautiful. They do say she had a very beautiful voice and that she was very charismatic.
She seemed sexy.
She seemed sexy,
Because she was a
which I find is half the battle.
Her mouth is very small in that it only extends as far as the flare of her nostril.
Yeah, that isn't necessarily Cleopatra.
No, that's just a woman who's...
Artist's impression.
That's just a woman who's gone mad with some napkins.
Yeah. Yeah, she's gone serviette crazy.
Age cannot wither her, nor custom stale her infinite variety, as Barber said about her, I think. Now, how did Christopher Marlowe die?
Well, now...
Ta-da! Yes.
Let me say it so you can mock me. He died in a bar brawl being stabbed.
Dear me. No, well, he was stabbed, I'll give you that, but not in a tavern brawl. It was thought for many years it was a tavern brawl, but it wasn't until 1925 that the documents came to light in the Public Record Office that showed he was, in fact, killed at the house of a Mrs. Eleanor Bull by a man called Ingram Fraser, with whom he'd spent the whole day, and they had an argument over the bill.
An argument over a bill?
He stabbed him.
That's a bit harsh.
So I only had a mineral water.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So it wasn't a tavern?
No.
What was it the bill for, then? Was it a restaurant?
It was a
Might
pop-up
have been
restaurant.
They call it a tavern. It was actually rather a smart restaurant, but it went downhill after that.
It might have been a prostitute.
Right.
Might have been a brothel.
Oh, so it could have been a brothel bill.
I didn't have that.
No.
Yeah.
No, I didn't have
To be honest, the service charge in this
I
case
think-
is redundant.
I had one of them, two of them.
I asked for
And I
that,
shared
but
that.
it never happened.
I ordered it, but
It
they
was
refused.
off.
Yeah.
If we all chip in, we can afford that.
Why don't we just get one big one and all have a bit? Oh, I don't know. Oh, no, dear me. Anyway. Yeah, it's unlikely to have been a brothel, because he did say that he didn't trust anyone who didn't love tobacco or boys.
Well.
Anyway, what made Lord Byron limp?
That's a follow-up question.
Item 4 on the brothel bill. 8 hours of Morris dancing.
He had, from birth, a pronounced limp. L-I-M-P, pronounced limp.
So did he have a... They're not quite sure whether or not he had a club foot.
We know that, in fact, he didn't have a club foot. It's often said that he did, because that's the sort of one that people have heard of. He had a sort of withered leg, and you can tell from his boots. He was very athletic, and he hated this limp. but he swam the Hellespont and he boxed, and he was very worried about his weight. He became possibly an early male anorexic, it seems. And he liked to spend money, did old Byron. He ordered batches of 24 a time of white linen trousers, which he only wore once. He also ordered silk handkerchiefs in batches of 100. Each one was 9 guineas, which was an average man's pay for the year.
So what was he? Was he coining it in with the writing?
He inherited at an early age the title and Newstead Abbey, which he spent very, very fast. But he was, in fact, incredibly highly paid, yes. For every canto of Don Juan, his last great masterpiece, I think. Yes. Thousands he got for each canto.
So he would write a canto,
he was
have a hanky score,
yes.
or write another canto.
He was hugely successful, yeah. And
white linen trousers?
Yes.
Does that sound like something out of Miami Vice?
doesn't it? He had to leave England because there was a scandal about him possibly having had sex with...
a young...
goat.
A barber story at Cambridge. He kept a bear at Cambridge in his rooms, a bear. And the Master of Trinity said, the rules are absolutely clear, Lord Byron. There's no domestic animals. He said, I assure you, Master, he's not domestic, he's entirely wild. So he was allowed to keep the bear. But, there was a rumour that he had shagged his sister, and so that's what forced him to leave.
So you say the bear?
No, the bear. As far as I know, the bear...
Is that more horrific than shagging your sister?
It's just different, really.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
It is different.
It's probably braver.
Anyway, Lord Byron limped because of an abnormality in one leg, but it wasn't a club foot, in fact. Now, what can the Queen do that an idiot can't?
By the looks of it, kill people with their own eyes.
Doesn't look in the best mood there, I agree.
One tires of Morris dancing.
This is something she's allowed to do, but doesn't. But an idiot is not allowed to do.
Drive, vote.
Vote is the right answer. Most people think the Queen can't vote. She's every right to vote as any citizen. She's never exercised that, as far as we know. But idiots are not allowed to vote. And lunatics may only vote during their lucid periods. So
Test them on the way into the food.
So it's a surprise that most people think that the royals can't vote. They can, they just choose not to. But alas, alack, and well away, our revels now are ended. These are actors, as I foretold you, were all spirits and are melted into air, into thin air, and we must consult the scores. Well, my gracious heavens. I'm afraid rather down the bottom of the list with -14, Bill Bailey. Probably. 4 to the better with -10, Sue Perkins. Second witch with a very creditable +3, Alan Davis. But tonight's Prince of Denmark with 6 points is David Mitchell. Well, it only remains for me to thank our dramatist personae, Sue, David, Bill and Alan, and to leave you with this perceptive thought from Robert Wilensky. We've heard that 1,000,000 monkeys at 1,000,000 keyboards could produce the complete works of Shakespeare, but now, thanks to the internet, we know that this is not true. Good night.
More comedy here on BBC HD this weekend, and a chance to catch up with Grandma's House at 11:05 on Sunday. Next tonight, it's Shooting Stars.